Hello, everyone. Today we'll be talking about managing social responsibility and ethics. So, the learning objectives for today's class is first to discuss what it means to be socially responsible and what factors influence that decision, and explain green management and how organizations can go green. Discuss the factors that lead to ethical and unethical behavior. Develop your skills at creating trust in work groups. Describe management's role in encouraging ethical behavior and the know-how to make good decisions about ethical dilemmas. Discuss current social responsibility and ethics issues. So, first of all, what is social obligation? First, we'll be talking about the obligation and then how did we transform from obligation to responsiveness and into responsibility. Okay, so the social obligation is when a firm engages in social actions because of its obligation to meet certain economic and legal responsibilities. When we say it's an obligation, it's a must for a firm or let's say an entity or an organization to engage in these social actions. It's a must based on rules, regulations, sometimes country, let's say law that obliges this organization to do social activities. From the classical viewpoint is that managers' only social responsibility is to maximize profit. So if we look at this from the classical view, it's not the manager's job to be socially responsible, to be accountable for the society, for the community, etc. Rather, their only job is to maximize profit for the organization that they work at. We have the socio-economic view, which says that managers' social responsibilities go beyond making profits to include protecting and improving the society's welfare. So this is a step better, or let's say improved view from the classical point of view, which says that beside making profit, managers should be responsible for protecting the society's well-being, the environment, etc. And we have social responsiveness when a company engages in social action in response to some popular social need. So there are things that are popular at a time, let's say during the coronavirus. A lot of companies were doing a lot of campaigns to provide for the poor people, to provide medical supplies, etc. So there was something popular happening at that time, and companies were engaging in social actions during that time. But when the corona was done, these kind of social actions also were over. So they respond to, let's say, popular needs and let's say actions that are currently going on at a place. We have social responsibility, which is what we will cover in this class, is a business's intention beyond its legal, economic, and social responsibility obligation. So when we talk about social responsibility, it is higher than all the other views that we mentioned. Okay, so they have to do things that are not only because it's legal, not only because it's economic obligation, and not only because it's popular at that time, but it's an obligation for them because they want to give back to the society, because they want to give back to the community that they are conducting business in, because they want to protect the environment, they want to protect the community, they want to help the community by themselves, not because it's legal, not because it's popular at that time, but it is their intention to help the society and the community. So, should organizations be socially involved? This is a question for you. It's basically, do you think that organizations have an obligation or they should be socially involved in paying back to the community and the society that they are conducting business at? And then we have social screening, which is basically applying social criteria to investment decisions. So when a company decides to make an investment decision, they are going to consider the social criteria and put that consideration, let's say, when making a decision to invest in something. Let's say they have to consider the environmental impacts of an investment decision, and they do actually implement it. Or they have to, let's say, consider the economical, the political, the social, the cultural situations of that place, and they implement it while making investment decisions. So, what are the arguments, or let's say, that are for and against social responsibility for organizations? The arguments that are for, or let's say, supporting the fact that companies should be socially responsible are the following: public expectations. The public opinion of the people within that community is expecting these companies to be responsible for the society, and let's say, beside the business, beside the profit, they have to pursue economic and social goals that are going to be helping the society. The long run profits, socially responsible companies tend to have more secure long run profits because they are helping the society in a lot of ways. The society also pays back to them, and in that case, they will have loyal customers and loyal public opinion to them. The ethical obligation, which is businesses should be socially responsible because these actions are the right thing to do. Okay, so it's not about rules and regulations, it's not about the public opinion, what is expected from them, etc. Rather, because this is the right thing to do, and if they do not do it, it's the wrong thing. The public image, a lot of companies do this due to the public image because their public image would be better enhanced and polished for the public opinion, and at the same time it becomes a really, let's say, good marketing campaign for them. And better environment, usually businesses involvement can help solve difficult social problems related to environment, related to community issues. Discouragement of further governmental regulations. By becoming socially responsible, businesses can expect less government regulations. And the balance of responsibility and power. The more power they have, the more responsible they should be. And those who have, let's say, those businesses that have a lot of power, they should be equally responsible also. Stockholder interests, usually stockholders, we will explain it later in detail, but stockholders are any parties, let's say consumers, customers, media, society, government, any party that is related to this business or has some kind of influence on this business is considered a stakeholder. So stakeholder interests sometimes will help, or let's say oblige a business to be socially responsible. Possession of resources. Businesses have the resources to support public and charitable projects that need assistance because they have, let's say, the resources they can, in terms of human resource, in terms of capital resource, in terms of financial resources. All these are available for these companies. That's why they should be socially responsible. And last, superiority of prevention of a cures. We usually say that it's usually better to prevent something from happening rather than curing it after it happens. So businesses should address social problems before they become serious issues, and they should do it in the, let's say, correct way. So the arguments that are against companies should be responsible. The violation of profit maximization. Businesses is being socially responsible only when in pursue its economic interest. So dilution of purpose. Pursuing social goals dilutes business primary purpose, economic productivity. So if we hold, basically according to these arguments, if we hold the company responsible socially, they might not be able to fulfill their economic productivity, which is making profit. Costs, basically being socially responsible is not easy and it's not free, rather it costs a lot of money. So many socially responsible actions do not cover their costs and someone must pay for these costs. So usually it's taken out from the company's profit. Too much power. Businesses have a lot of power already. If they pursue social goals, they will have even more. So if they are being held socially responsible, responsible, they will also have power on that sector at the same time. The lack of skills, business leaders lack the necessary skills to address social issues. Just because they are leaders in their area of business, it doesn't mean that they have the necessary skills and knowledge to address social issues. And the last one, lack of accountability. There are no direct lines of accountability for social actions. We don't know whether when a company or an organization does a socially responsible action, how well it went, did they violate any rules and regulations, how did it go? There's no monitoring for that, which will also be lack of accountability if something does not go accordingly. We have green management and sustainability. Green management is basically a recent term. It did not exist previously. It says that managers should consider the impact of their organization on the natural environment. Okay, so green management is when you're running a business as managers, you have to consider how your business is going to affect the environment, whether it's in a positive way to increase it, whether it's in a negative way to decrease it and try to prevent it. How do organizations go green? Let's say if this university decides to become a green management, let's say organization and go green, what do they do? We have 4 different approaches: legal, light green approach, and then we have the market approach, we have the stakeholder approach, and the activist approach. Each one of these basically are different from each other. We will talk about each one in detail. Okay, so based on the how green each one is, okay, or how sustainable and responsible each approach is, the legal approach is the lowest. They are responsible for the environment, but at the lowest level. Okay, the more you go higher, we have activist approach, which is dark green. They are the most responsible approach for going green. Evaluating green management actions. Companies issued reports on environmental performance. So when a company says we are sustainable, we have green management standards, etc., how do you know that? Or how this is being evaluated? Basically, companies have to have reports on environmental performance, and they are issuing these reports, and sometimes they even publish it on their public website for the public opinion to view it. Okay, this is one way, by reviewing these reports and evaluating them. We have 2 ISOs, which is ISO 9000 and ISO 14000. One of them is about quality management, and one of them is for the environmental management standards. Each one of these ISOs are not given to anyone, rather they are given to those companies who are strictly following the standards before being given these certifications. So if you can go online and research this Global 100 list of the most sustainable corporations in the world, it will bring you from company 1 until the last one, which is 100 companies who are the most responsible or sustainable corporations. Please do that while you're listening to this video, and during our session I will ask you about the name of some of these corporations who are most sustainable. Managers and ethical behavior. Okay, so how are managers responsible when it comes to social responsibility, and what is ethical behavior? First, we need to understand what ethics is in order to understand the ethical behavior of managers in going green management style. Ethics is basically the principles, the values and beliefs that define whether course of action, whether a behavior is wrong or right, whether something is let's say okay to do or not okay to do when it comes to managers. We have something, okay, we need to understand these basic terms first. I'm not sure if you have had it in your previous classes or not, but this exhibition shows factors that determine ethical and unethical behavior. How do you decide whether something you do or a behavior or a sentence that you are going to communicate is ethical or unethical? Okay, so we have something called ethical dilemma, which is where you're in a situation, you have two options and you don't know which one to choose, because each one of these options are going to affect whether positively or negatively on the involved parties. Okay, let me give you an example of an ethical dilemma, and then when we meet online, you have to give me examples of ethical dilemmas. For example, you are in your final exam, you see one of your classmates cheating during the exam, and you know that this person had a very emergency situation last night. This person was at the hospital, very sick, they could not study, that's why they are cheating. Okay, so are you going to report this person in the classroom to your lecturer to say this person is teaching or not? Imagine if you say I will report, then it will affect your friend in a negative way, and at the same time you know this friend had a, let's say, a special case and situation. Okay, but that does not mean, basically, if you report it, if you are not reporting it, it's ethical. If you're not reporting it, it is actually also unethical, because somebody is conducting something that is not correct, that's wrong, and you are becoming part of this wrong behavior. Okay, so this is a dilemma situation. Whether you have two options, you don't really know which one to choose. Whether you choose this one, let's say you have two options, A and B. If you choose option A, it will affect some people in a negative way. If you choose option B, it will affect some people in a negative way. And you are left in a situation where you don't know how to make your decision, basically. So next class, give me examples of ethical dilemmas. What you do when you're in a situation and you have an ethical dilemma, you will be going to the stage of moral development. How this person is when it comes to their moral development. Are they really moral? Remember in last class we talked about moral, immoral, and unmoral managers. So which one of these this person is who's going to make a decision and a behavior? Okay? And what are the moderators? What are the, let's say, external factors affecting your decision? Individual characteristics, let's say who's involved and what are the characteristics of these individuals, issue intensity, whether it's a very serious issue affecting a lot of people or not, or whether it's a simple issue, the organizational culture, whether this company that you're working at supports, let's say, these kind of behaviors or not, and then the structural variables that will affect your decision along the way, whether you know this person or not, whether it's going to be affecting your position at the company or not. All these together determine whether a behavior is ethical or unethical. And then you will decide your decision, you will make your decision within the ethical dilemma accordingly. We have different stages of moral development, okay, for each person. You could be at any level. We have pre-conventional level, we have conventional level, we have principled level. So what is the pre-conventional level? The person is sticking to rules only to avoid physical punishment, not because it's moral, not because it's the right thing to do. Following rules only when doing so is in your immediate interest. So if the rules are not going to be in your favor, there's no any advantage in it for you, then this person is not going to be following these rules. We have a level that's higher, which is conventional, which is living up to what is expected by people close to you. Okay, so the close circle of people around you have some expectations for your moral standards, and you are living and acting and behaving in a way that is within their expectation limits. And you also maintain conventional order by fulfilling obligations to which you have agreed. Things you have agreed to before, you're doing, but things you did not agree to, you're not going to do even if they are moral. We have this principle, which is the highest level, It is valuing rights of others and upholding absolute values and rights regardless of the majority's opinion. So you do something, you behave in a way because this is the right thing to do. Not because somebody's expecting you to do so, not because it's within the rules and regulations, but you are doing this right behavior even if the majority of people are against it. Okay? And the last point is following self-chosen ethical principles, even if they violate the law. So let's say there are situations that you will do something that seems right to you, even if it is not considered legal by the law. Okay? When we meet during the online session, I want you to give me examples for something that is ethical, but it is not legal. Okay, it is ethical to do, but it's illegal to do. What are the individual characteristics that are going to affect the moral development, the ethical strengths within a person? We have values, ego strengths, and locus of control, which is basically what this individual has value in it. How much value do they give to these certain things? For example, ethical behavior and moral standards. How egoistic is this person? Okay, and how much control they have over their behavior. We have structural variables that are going to affect the ethical behavior or unethical behavior. So in the structural variables, we have these things that can be influencing an ethical behavior. An organization's structural design, the goals of that organization, and the performance appraisal system, the reward allocation. What do we mean by this? An organization's structural design is how this organization is designed. For example, is the power only within the hands of one person or multiple persons hold power? So if it is one person, the moral standards and the ethical standards of this one person will affect the entire organization. The goals of this organization, are they only aiming towards making profit, or their goals are to make profit, to be socially responsible, to conduct only ethical behaviors, to uphold to moral standards or not? And we have performance appraisal systems. What is performance appraisal system? Is basically when companies do this, let's say, review of the performance of their employees annually. Is this system based on only productivity, or let's say based on only making profit, or is it based on how efficient, how sustainable, how ethical, etc. this one person is? And the reward allocation, is reward allocated only on making profit, or there are rewards for different purposes when it comes to ethical behavior and moral standards? We have the issue intensity, which is basically how intensive this issue is, how many people are involved, and how hard, let's say, how great is the harm that is going to be done, who is going to be affected, and how immediate is going to be the consequences. For example, if there's harm, is it going to happen right away when you're going to make this ethical or unethical behavior, or it's not going to harm you in any way? And how likely it is that this action will cause harm? Is it going to cause it or not? Who will be, let's say, this cause will happen to who? And how fast it's going to happen? How intense it's going to happen? We have ethics in the international context, which is basically ethical standards are not universal. We mentioned that ethics are the set of rules and standards that determine wrong from right, but you cannot have a standard. There are no standards that are universal. One organization from another can change, one place to another can change, one culture to another can change their ethical standards. And we have different acts and regulations in different countries that are monitoring these ethical standards, and from one country to another, it is different also.